Mm. Well, this book is Fun is Where You Find It. Book 8, Winnie the Pooh, and he's right there. And Rabbit, who I think is trying to rake stuff. We'll see how this goes. I like to have fun. It had been a blustery night in the 100-acre wood. The wind had raced across the sky, pushing clouds ahead of it and making the branches shiver. By morning, the wind had gone and a breeze was blowing. The breeze lifted leaves from the trees and sent them drifting toward the ground. But one leaf never made it that far. Instead, it landed on a nose. I don't see anybody's nose. Let's see where it went. Oh, Rabbit doesn't look very happy. It was a twitchy sort of nose with whiskers on the sides and 2 large teeth below it. The nose belonged to Rabbit. "Achoo!" said Rabbit, and the leaf floated to the ground. Scratching his nose, Rabbit gazed sadly at his yard. It was covered with leaves. To Rabbit, that meant just one thing. Work. That's why he looked so sad. Rabbit went to his closet and put on the warmest scarf he could find. Bracing himself, he went outside into the chilly breeze. He took a rake from his shed and then sighed and started raking leaves. There were a lot of leaves, and it would take him a long time to rake them all into neat little piles. Oh, well, good morning, Pooh. In another part of the forest, Winnie the Pooh was smiling. There was no reason to smile. It was just that his mouth felt better when it was turned up than when it was turned down. Humming a happy hum, Pooh looked out his window into the yard. It was covered with leaves. To Pooh, that meant just one thing: fun. Oh, he's going to have fun. Pooh hurried outside. Throwing his arms open wide, he grinned up at the sky. As he did, he noticed a leaf floating in the breeze. Pooh wondered what it was like to be a leaf. He decided to follow it, hoping to find out. Oh, there's his house. That's interesting. All those pots of honey in his door, in his window, in his house, and that big tree. And then there's the leaf that he saw in the breeze that he's going to follow. Let's go, Pooh. The leaf drifted through the trees and spun past the pond and across the stream. Pooh had to run a little to keep up, but he stayed right behind it. The leaf blew over a fence and into a pile of leaves, so Pooh jumped into the pile too. He was lying there, thinking how pleasant it was to be a leaf, when he noticed a rabbit standing nearby. Oh, Rabbit looks a little shocked, horrified, frustrated. I'm not quite sure. What do you think Rabbit looks like? Hello, Rabbit, said Pooh. I was just having some fun. Would you care to join me? Rabbit stared at him. Fun, he said. There is work to be done. Don't you know what season it is? Fall. So Pooh got up and fell down in the leaves again. Not that kind of fall, said Rabbit. I'm talking about the season after summer. Fall is the time of year when plants and animals get ready for winter. And there's Rabbit pointing stuff out to Pooh that Pooh probably does not understand. For instance, Rabbit said, this maple tree is getting ready for winter by dropping its leaves. Then I have to rake them up. Well, that's fun, isn't it? Said Pooh. It most certainly is not, answered Rabbit. Work. That's what fall is all about. Stick with me, Pooh, and I'll show you. See, I told you he was telling him something. Rabbit led Pooh to his coat closet and handed him a scratchy brown scarf. Fall is cold, said Rabbit, so you have to bundle up. But Pooh had his eye on a different scarf. If you don't mind, he said, I like this one better. It's soft and it has pretty pictures on it. It does, said Rabbit. I never noticed that. It's got carrots on it. Wow, that's a lot of pumpkins. They went out to the pumpkin patch where the ground was covered with fat, round pumpkins. Rabbit said, fall is harvest time. That's when you pick the vegetables that have been growing all summer, like these pumpkins. Would you like to help? Pooh nodded eagerly, and the two friends went to work. So he's got the carrot scarf on. I was going to count pumpkins, but there's too many to count. There's a lot here. Rabbit did a good job with his garden. Pooh picked his first pumpkin and rolled it to one side of the patch. He liked the way it rolled, so he rolled it some more. Pooh rolled the pumpkin to the top of the little hill, then sat down to admire it. When he looked up a moment later, Rabbit was standing there, frowning. Pooh, what are you doing? Asked Rabbit. Pooh said, I was just thinking that this pumpkin reminds me of something. It has a nice round shape and it makes me happy to look at it. Suddenly it came to him. I know what it reminds me of, said Pooh. It's my tummy. Rabbit looked at the pumpkin, and his frown changed to a grin. Yes, it does. It looks exactly like your tummy. Uh-oh. What do you think happened there? Pooh patted his tummy, then patted the pumpkin. The pumpkin started to roll, and roll, and roll. My pumpkin! Cried Rabbit, and he took off chasing it. The pumpkin rolled down the hill, picking up speed as it went. Pooh watched, amazed. Who would have thought that a fat pumpkin could go faster than a skinny rabbit? Oh, that skinny rabbit does not look happy. The pumpkin began to bounce past the pumpkin patch and into Rabbit's front yard. It hit the front door with a loud splat and stopped. When Pooh came walking up a moment later, Rabbit said, I think we've picked enough pumpkins for today, Pooh. Would you mind if we tried something else? Yeah, look what happened to the pumpkin. There's the door that it hit. There's a piece of pumpkin. So Rabbit lost a pumpkin. Just then a squirrel scampered across the yard, and Pooh asked, "What do squirrels do in the fall?" Rabbit said they get ready for winter by saving food to eat when it's cold outside. Oh, there's the squirrel. As Pooh and Rabbit watched, one of the squirrels scooped up some acorns, stuffed them into their cheeks, and hurried up a tree in their nest. There's 1, 2, 3 on the ground, and then 4 and 5 in the trees. They're in the fall, getting ready for winter. We need to store food for the winter too, said Rabbit. If you're ready to go back to work, let's pick some apples. He took Pooh to his orchard, and they began picking the ripe red fruit. Oh, have you ever picked apples? I have. It's fun. As Pooh plucked apples from the trees, he stuffed them into his cheeks the way he'd seen the squirrels do. Oops. I think Rabbit's using a basket. Pooh doesn't have one. A short time later, he went to Rabbit and asked a question. It sounded like Rabbit looked at Pooh for a moment, then began to laugh. He laughed and laughed. And then he laughed some more. Pooh tried to laugh too, but it was hard to do with apples in his cheeks. Oh, that is funny. Rabbit laughing instead of being grouchy is really funny. I wonder how many apples he got in his cheeks. Oops. Get up there. I wonder how many apples are in there. Pooh took the apples out of his mouth. Then he asked his question again, which turned out to be, "Pardon me, Rabbit, but do you have a little smackerel of something? Honey, I mean?" So he's holding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there might be some underneath, but he had at least 5 in his mouth. Rabbit did indeed. He brought out a honey pot for Pooh and a shiny red apple for himself. The two friends sat by the edge of the forest, eating their snack and enjoying the bright fall day. That does look like a nice spot to sit down, kind of have a snack. Oh, Rabbit once again looks pretty happy. When Pooh finished, he said, "I'm sorry, Rabbit, but I think I'd better go home now. Most of me would like to keep working, but my cheeks are tired and need a nap." He started down the path, then stopped and called back, "Thank you for teaching me about fall, Rabbit. I had fun." There's Rabbit again. And there's his rake. I think he was raking leaves. And he's chasing something. After Pooh had left, Rabbit picked up his rake and headed for the maple tree to do more work. On the way, he saw a leaf floating in the breeze. Rabbit wondered what it was like to be a leaf. He knew what his friend Pooh would do if he were there, or if he were here. Rabbit dropped his rake and began chasing the leaf through the forest. My goodness, thought Rabbit, fall is fun. So that's what that is. It's a leaf. And all those white marks are the path that it took. And then Rabbit saw it. And Rabbit wanted to chase it and have some fun. How many of you have raked leaves and then jumped right into that pile? How many of you have grown pumpkins? I have. Pumpkins are one of my favorite things to grow. It really is fun in the fall. That's my favorite season.